It was in the Mediterranean that the very idea, the very concept of Europe was born. And it was in the Mediterranean that the idea, the dream of Europe came from myth to reality. The Mediterranean is the cradle of European civilization.
Members of parliaments from all countries with shores on the Mediterranean, from all European Union member states and from the European Parliament have travelled to Athens for the annual meeting of the EuroMed Parliamentary Assembly, starting here with a visit to the Greek National Parliament. The EuroMed meeting is a body that includes 32 members of the EPP-ED group. What makes the EuroMed Assembly special is that it is the only international political body that includes representatives both from Israel and from Palestine. That gives it a unique potential role in the Mideast peace process.
Some of the countries use this assembly for their interests, and others still to work hard in order to find this EuroMed Assembly objective in dealing in all the issues that bothering the people of Europe and the Mediterranean.
The structure of this assembly is unique. They have representatives of the European Parliament, which is a central body that is important in case of decision making, that not only individual or national decisions, but there is a collective decision. In the meantime, there are also representatives of individual countries, national countries, both in the north bank of the Mediterranean and in the south bank of the Mediterranean. This totality brings a better picture when discussing issues. It has a wider scope.
French MEP Tokia Saifi is the chairman of the Political Affairs Committee of the EuroMed Assembly. Just as other members of the EPP-ED group, she emphasizes the importance of the dialogue between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Même si les débats sont difficiles, mais en tout cas, ils restent. Ils sont assis autour de la table et ils se parlent. Vous savez, dès qu'on lève la séance, à la fois le vice-président israélien et le vice-président palestinien vont se voir et vont prendre un café ensemble et parlent ensemble. Donc je crois que ça, c'est important. Mais c'est une question qu'on ne peut pas éviter, c'est une question sensible.
Here, Syrians, Lebanese, Palestinians and Israelis work together. This is marvelous, and we have to do everything as Europeans to support this body and to make it as a space for life, for political life, for everyone.
Honesty bids to say that relations between Europe and the Mediterranean countries have not always been fruitful. Even now, there are critics that challenge the existing structures, like Lebanon and Egypt.
Our history is full of many occupations from the north. We don't like to have more occupations in any kind of our interests, either politics or culture or anything. We like to have dialogue, mutual understanding, and we could go together as partners.
In my opinion, it is not enough. What we really need, it is the peace in the region, to finish all the occupied from the Israeli in Lebanon, in Syria, in Palestine, and after that, I think everything about environment, about business, about relationship between about energy, it will be better. Otherwise, every time we make something good, we'll disturb it in 1 minute.
Un dialogue même entre les parlements ne suffit pas. Il faut impliquer la société civile, les initiatives de la société civile, leur donner des possibilités de s'exprimer, de jouer leur rôle. Et aussi impliquer les pouvoirs locaux. C'est très important. Les partenaires économiques. Nous avons pris beaucoup d'initiatives en organisant des séminaires à Bruxelles, en invitant des partenaires et aussi en faisant des visites sur place pour mieux connaître cette réalité.
The EuroMed meetings are important for the EPP-ED group because they encourage dialogue in the Middle East. Also important is the creation of a single free trade zone that would cover all of the European Union and the Mediterranean. Such a zone would become the biggest free trade zone in the world, with as many as 800 million consumers. The EuroMed initially planned to create such a zone by 2010, but progress is slow. It now looks like this will have to wait a few more years. Climate change and the environment are among the official agenda items in Athens. Not only Greece has been suffering from forest fires. Just like the northern neighbours, countries on the south side of the Med are facing drought and desertification, and that makes cooperation necessary.
We have witnessed last year devastating forest fires in southern Mediterranean, in Greece, in Portugal, in Italy, in France. And the same thing applies to Northern African or Middle Eastern countries.
The cooperation will take shape in training and also in civil protection. European Environment Commissioner Stavros Dimas, also a member of the EPP family, likes to point out that more needs to be done to raise awareness on climate change in the Mediterranean countries, just as was the case in the European Union a few years ago.
Even in our countries, we felt that it was necessary to have a campaign a year ago in order to raise awareness of the European citizens regarding environmental issues and specifically climate change. So I think it will be quite important for the other Mediterranean countries to raise awareness regarding climate change and its impacts, but also the same applies for all the countries of the world.
In the coming months, relations between Europe and the Mediterranean will continue to be high up on the international agenda. As France takes over the EU's rotating presidency, heads of governments are due to agree closer cooperation at a summit in Paris on the 13th of July. The European Commission is to present a concrete proposal before that meeting.
Needs to put more political investment in this big project because there are real global challenges. The Commission and myself, we want the summit in Paris on the 13th of July to be a success. So there is an urgency problem. Over the coming weeks, we will hold consultation with all EuroMed partners to see how we can deliver on the expectations of our citizens and create a real sense of Mediterranean community.
Well, the EPP, of course, has played a very substantial role in the whole process. Right from the beginning, we've had our Vice Presidents of the European Parliament, myself and now Rodi Kratsa, very committed to the whole process of building the Euro-Mediterranean Parliamentary Assembly, and our predecessors too, whether Greek or from other member states. And the contribution of Hans-Gert Pöttering as President of the European Parliament has also been very important. So as a group, we have the chairman of the political committee and other key members of our group are active here in the Assembly. And I think we can be very proud that the EPP-ED group has been probably the foremost promoter of the concept of the parliamentary dimension of the Mediterranean, the cradle of our civilization, the cradle of democracy, and the cradle now of parliamentary cooperation across the Mediterranean.
The EPP-ED group plans to continue to play a leading role in boosting the cooperation between parliaments in the EU and the Mediterranean. Ultimately, it's about building bridges, not physical ones, but bridges between economies, between governments, between markets, and between cultures and people.